Hey friends, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Ray and I'm a second year Cambridge student studying physics, and in 2019 I achieved 4 stars at A-level. In this video we will be going over what I think is the most effective way to study for GCSE and A-level mocks that offers the highest return on time invested. We will be focusing on the science and maths-based subjects, but much of what we discuss will be applicable to some of the humanities. We will be assuming that we've done no real revision up until now and would like to do well in both our mocks and our real exams. As always, timestamps will be in the description below, so let's get straight to the video. Firstly, while it may not seem like it, we do have a decent understanding of the topics we've covered so far just by paying attention in class. I personally felt like I knew nothing about all my subjects on plenty of occasions, even days before my real exams. But when I saw an exam question, then everything to do with that topic would come flowing back into my mind. I like to think of it as if someone asks you to list every movie you've ever seen, then it wouldn't be difficult for you to remember them because your brain doesn't store information in a list-like format. But if someone then asks you to list every movie you've seen that has a wizard, then it'll be easier for you to remember The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and Harry Potter. That's because the trigger word here is a wizard. Then the fact that these are trilogies will remind you of other trilogies like Hunger Games and Divergent or something. So whilst it may not seem like it, we know more than we think we do, which is clear when we see an exam question, although we do know more about some topics than others. The question then becomes, how do we figure out which topics are in most need of attention? For the more recent topics, we should be able to remember that we didn't quite understand electrolysis when it was covered 3 weeks ago. But for topics 3 months ago, it may be more difficult to remember whether or not we fully understood it. So our first step is then to find out which topics will offer us the highest return on investment if we go over them. So my recommendation is that we attempt to do practice questions on a range of topics and use these as a guide for our revision. Ideally using a past paper as they combine many different topics together, but topic tests can also be useful. And I know you're probably thinking, but should we even be doing topic tests or past papers when we don't know everything about every topic? But remember that the real value in a past paper comes from it helping us figure out which topics we need to focus on the most based on which questions we got right. Otherwise, we'll just think, oh, I need to revise such and such a topic because I haven't covered it for a while, only to realize after an hour of revising it that we already knew 80% of the material. On the other hand, we may think we know everything about a topic, but it turns out we're only kidding ourselves because we can't do an exam question on it. So the best way to make sure is by doing some practice questions. That said, we can't do topic test after topic test and past paper after past paper hoping to improve. This is the most effective strategy either. In between these tests, we should take a step back and look at which questions we got wrong, go over and relearn the relevant part of the topic, make corrections, then move on to the next test. Now, in the case of most subjects, there are 3 outcomes for any question that we do. 1, we get the question right and surprise ourselves because we know more than we thought we did. 2, we get it partially right. And 3, we get it all wrong or can't answer it. Of course, we should prioritize the third case by first understanding the content, by having a look over our notes from class or watching a few YouTube videos explaining the topic, using CGP revision guides, explaining the topic to a friend, and everything else we usually do to revise. Once we understand the topic, we have to remember it so we don't forget it again by the time our mocks or our real exams comes around. So rather than wasting time making pretty notes on the topic, it's more effective to use the most important principles in studying: active recall and spaced repetition. If you haven't heard of these before, then I would recommend checking out the videos in the description which helps to explain this. To use these principles, we should make flashcards on Anki or Quizlet, then test ourselves on this newly learned and understood content as often as a flashcard comes up, which involves checking Anki or Quizlet every day. If you don't know what Anki is, then I would recommend watching the video I have linked above right now. This ensures that we can answer a question on that topic in the short term during our mocks, and also in the long term when it comes up on the real exam. After making these flashcards, it's a good idea to reattempt the question to ensure that we now understand the topic. We can also take a picture of this question and put it into a hard questions folder on our phone, computer, or cloud storage so that we can come back and attempt it again shortly before our exams. Now, after addressing all the questions we could not answer, we now need to consider the second case where we get questions partially correct. Either we are missing a small bit of information from that topic, or we just need to practice more. In the case of the former, we should identify the piece of the topic that we don't understand and repeat the process we discussed before. In the case of the latter, we should practice a few more questions on that topic, as with each question we practice, the easier it becomes. We may also be missing some keywords from our vocabulary that the mark scheme likes to use. in which case it is helpful to make a note of these on a separate piece of paper and add these keywords onto our notes or flashcards so that we can learn these. This strategy ensures that we're covering the topics we find hardest, whilst getting some exam practice in and making flashcards on the topics we find the most difficult, which we can use in both the short and long term. We shouldn't bother making notes unless we plan to turn them into flashcards, otherwise we will just forget about them. Personally, I only made brief notes so I can make sense of a topic before turning them into flashcards. So I'll be using A-level chemistry as an example here. Say that I'm in year 13 and I have a mock coming up on all the AS content and the A2 content we covered between September to December. For this, I could either do a topic test on all the topics since the start of year 12 by going to chemistry, OCRA, and then for each of the modules I can find all these topic tests over here. Or instead, I could do an AS paper for a single year. So let's go to an AS paper by going to past papers and then going to chemistry, OCRA, and I can do 1 year of AS past papers. So let's say do a specimen paper. And then alongside that, I could also do some topic tests on the content we've covered since September of year 13 by going back to OCRA and then going to Module 5 and Module 6 and picking out the relevant topics. So that reduces the number of topic tests I have to do because there are a lot of topic tests for a lot of the year 12 content, but if you can combine that all together into a single past paper or two, then that's much better for your time. Then based on the questions I could and couldn't do, I can decide what to revise until I'm able to do that topic. And to make sure I can do that topic, I can do a few individual questions from that topic by going back and finding some topic tests again. If you can't find the questions you want here on Physics Math Tutor, then just a quick Google search of, say, GCSE Physics electricity questions should be able to help you. But ultimately, tackling a lot of topics by doing a past paper or two should be able to save you quite a bit of time and help you decide on what to revise. So since we improve the most by working on the edge of our current abilities, I find it helpful to skip questions which are far too easy. For example, if a question asks me to factorize some quadratics, then I will skip it because I've done it countless times before, so spending another minute on this won't really help. Although, if you do this, don't lie to yourself by telling yourself that you can do questions which you can't do. It requires some judgment which you'll get better at with practice. Also, if you have a few friends that want to study together with you, then you can use this as an opportunity to debate or discuss the answers. This can be done by agreeing on a set of questions, attempting them on the same day by yourselves, scanning in the solutions and having a Zoom call where you share your screen every couple of days. During your Zoom calls, you can compare and discuss your answers to find out where your misunderstandings lie and work on patching them up. I would suggest using Zoom if you're meeting with 2 or more people because of the 40-minute time limit they have on calls. Since it's a hassle to set up a new meeting, it means that if you finish early, then you won't sit around for hours chatting, but if the time runs out and you didn't completely finish your study session, then you can just set up a new meeting with a bit of effort. After mocks, I would recommend staying on top of the content you're learning in class by continuing to make flashcards on information in topics that you feel like you may forget and going through them daily, and doing exam questions soon after you learn a topic to ensure you understand it then and there. Otherwise, if you leave it too late, then the next thing you know, you have to understand half the subject for the first time. Because remember that revision is easier and takes less time after you've understood something for the first time. And when you get an extra hour or two free during the week, then you should go over and make flashcards on anything else you feel like you may forget from your pre-December content, and continue to go through the flashcards daily. But if you finish your mock revision early and feel prepared, then you can also do that sooner. I know this strategy may feel uncomfortable because it's not quite what we're used to doing when revising, and it can even seem sporadic by making flashcards for some topics and not others. But remember that by working on the edge of our current abilities by using practice questions as a guide allows us to improve the most rapidly. If we work too much inside our comfort zone, then we won't be improving as much, and if we work too far outside, then we'll get frustrated and not improve as fast. Anyways, that's it from me. If you found the video useful, then leave a like. If not, leave a dislike and let me know why. If you have any questions about anything I mentioned, then leave a comment down below and I'll try to get back to you. But for now, I'll see you next time.